Good evening, everyone. My name is James Brown, and welcome to episode 8 of Fall to Rise. Tonight's episode is an interesting one that I've been wanting to do for a while. A good friend of mine. Tonight's episode is about surviving criminal justice. It's actually a sequel to a previous episode that I did about navigating the justice system. If you haven't had a chance to check that episode out, please go to YouTube and go to Fall to Rise podcast, subscribe to the channel, and definitely watch that video. Tonight's guest is someone that I've known since he was, 14 or 15 years old?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Olin McGee. Olin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I
was trying to see if I could go simultaneously on Facebook. For some reason, it just won't let me connect. So, oh well.
I got it.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. This is an episode that I never would have thought that I would have ever done with you, considering where we came from, just the values that we had growing up. So I remember checking out your podcast, and when you said that you had gone through the criminal justice, I was shocked because with the way that we grew up and the way that you just were, you were such a happy-go-lucky, innocent kid in high school. I said this that you would have ever gone through it, ever. So
and it's a good thing that you know me at that point, because that's something that I've always said a lot. It's like, okay, all my life, most of the time when I grew up in the middle of the ghetto, in the middle of crime-infested neighborhood, not once did I ever really get in trouble with the law. I was always a good kid, and all of a sudden I come to Georgia and I'm a juvenile delinquent. So it just didn't add up. So it's a good thing that there's somebody that actually can see that, I'm not a criminal, but I got arrested 4 times when I came to Georgia.
Wow. Well, how did you first get entangled with the police when you went down to Georgia?
That's a very interesting choice of words. I did have an entanglement. Entanglement?
in August.
In August, yeah. So pretty much I called the cops for help.
Okay.
My naivete didn't connect. I was explaining to them earlier that this whole thing where, black kids got to sit down with their parents and have that talk where they explain to them that, this is how you deal with cops and, cops and, all that whole shit. I never had that conversation. Because my grandmother was at work. My mom was doing whatever she was doing. And I kind of just, had to figure out what was going on. But I never really had encounters with the cops, except for maybe when they would, pat us down on our way into school. So I didn't make any kind of connection that cops don't like people of color. There was no connection of that. So I was in a situation where it was a bunch of dudes. I'm in the South. I don't know none of these guys. They're all a bunch of Southern good old boys who are obviously a little bit drunk, looking for a fight. So he just starts picking a fight with me about some random shit, talking about, I don't like the way you're moving your hands, some stupid shit like that. And I was like, what? And so anyway, it just ended up where he was trying to scuffle with me. And so I broke off with him, and I went into the Waffle House and I called the police. I'm like, look, there's 5 guys outside, and it's just one of me. I don't know any of these people. I'm new out here, and I just need to get across the street to my house. Can someone just come out this way and escort me back to the house? And when they got there, they arrested me.
Why were you arrested?
Disturbing the peace.
So, okay. Can you try to break that down to me? They tried to assault you.
Yes.
You decided to get away from them. You called the police. So how did the police assume that you were disturbing the peace?
I don't know. So I have a couple of theories.
Okay.
So the first theory that I had was that being from New Jersey, there's a certain energy that can often be misinterpreted as something different in the South. I don't know if you know a lot of people from the South, a lot of Southerners or anything like that, but there's not a lot of the aggressiveness that we have that's just normal is it seems like a problem. So when they tell me, hey, what happened, and I'm trying to explain the story, I'm like, yo, I don't even know, man. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? I'm loud as fuck. I'm super energetic, and that's just the way that I speak. So they might have just assumed that I was on drugs or something like that, but I've never been high or drunk in my life. So I just been, I'm agitated because this situation is happening and it's slowing down my night, and I have to deal with all this stuff, and I'm a little agitated. And I also, at the time when I got arrested, I had just been like, getting a lot of like books from the library, like Black Power material, like I think I was rereading the Alex Haley Malcolm X book. I was reading the autobiography of Martin Luther King, and I had a bunch of like pro-black books in my bag. So the guys that were trying to fight me were a bunch of white rednecks, and so I think that they might have, I don't even know why they opened up my bag and started digging it in the first place. But I think that they saw that stuff in my bag and assumed that I was trying to cause trouble with white people.
So who dug in your bag, the police or the guys that were trying to fight you?
The police dug in my bag. They started searching my bag, my backpack.
So wait a minute. So when they got there, they made contact with you and just automatically went to your bag, or did they detain you when you spoke loudly, or what happened?
They just started asking. They put the guy over there. They put me over here, and we started talking. He told his story. I told my side of the story. And then, I guess that they knew the guy, or like somebody knows him or something, because he just let him go. And then they locked me up.
Wow. And so what were you charged with?
Like I said, disturbing the peace. That was pretty much it.
That was
it, And so I just called my grandmother, told her that I got locked up. She called me. She called the place and paid for the bail and got me out. And that was that. But that one incident where I got locked up for nothing, for calling the cops for help, pretty much opened up Pandora's box, where every other incident just so happened all of a sudden now, there's always a police encounter. Now, at the time, my grandmother didn't drive.
Okay.
And her husband was kind of a dick, so he wouldn't let me drive either. But I didn't know how to drive.
Okay.
Living in New Jersey, we don't really have to know how to drive because you have the public transit. And, it never really we weren't never really like big ballers like that. So it never occurred to me that I would ever have enough money to even get a car. So it was never something that was in my immediate thought. Like, I was never really into cars. I had no interest in cars. I had no interest in learning how to drive. So I didn't really learn how to drive until I was 25.
Oh, wow. Wow. So wait a minute. So you were arrested, you were taken to jail. Your grandmother built, and then I was given a court date to go to trial.
No, they just maybe pay a fine or something like that. But the reason why I mentioned that I didn't know how to drive was because there are no sidewalks in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to get somewhere, I had to walk all the time, and I would have to walk long distances. And sometimes I would end up walking along the side of the highway late at night because that was the only way that I can get back to my destination, because whoever was giving me a ride or whatever just couldn't give me a ride. So that is suspicious in the South because everybody in the South has cars, even kids.
Yeah. So
the cops always would bother me, There have been several instances where they would pull over and they would ask you questions, and I would be like, I'm not doing anything, leave me alone, and they would go away. But every once in a while, it was a problem. It was a reason for them to pull me out, to pull me to the side and question me.
Now, if you had to assume, how many times do you think that you were stopped by the police while just walking?
Just walking. I mean, I would say like 3 or 4 times, but that's a lot for somebody like me who's just I'm like minding my business. I'm just a goofy kid. Like, I'm not really like out here like trying to cause trouble. I'm just walking down the street listening to music. And at the time, I didn't have I think it was like 2007, and so I would listen to music. Like, I had like a little MP3 CD that I burned with a lot of songs on it, and I would go long walks and just exercise and just walk and think. And that's how I came up with a lot of songs. I would write, I would write as I walked, and a lot of the material that I come up with was from long distance walks,
Okay. Now
that's something.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Now you said that that first arrest led to Pandora's box, and you were arrested several other times after that. What were you arrested for those other times?
So I don't remember how much time really passed at this time, but it was a nice stint of time that had passed by now.
Okay.
And I had been performing like at open mics, local places in the city, just to like, brush up on my performance skills, because there was no really any money or any real gain career wise to performing these places. It was just something to do. And that's what I would do. Sometimes I would perform at open mics to like cafes and local shops and stuff. And one of the events asked me back to perform again.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Hey, we really like what you did. Would you like to do a set where you were like the headliner, and then you could like bring people in, and then we'll give you a portion of what?" Like they tried to make a deal with me like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making flyers, started telling people, "Hey, I'm gonna be performing at this spot. I'm gonna be doing some original stuff and whatever. And I started and I had made like a Facebook event, and I started sharing it with people that were in the local area, and I thought that I was gonna get like a nice little like turnaround, and people were gonna come, and a few people came, and it was just a nice little thing just to do on a weekend, and then it came time for me to do the performance, and they said, "Well, we booked someone else in your place because the last time that you were here, you rapped, and we have a strong policy against rapping, and we didn't know that you rapped when you did your performance the last time." Now I'm like a vocalist and I sing and rap, so I did a combination of both. And so I was like, well, I mean, who are the people that you put in my place? Like, I'm a very improv kind of person. Like, I can figure out a way to meld what I do with what they do, and it won't be anything that would be offensive or something that can, cause trouble in your event. I mean, I just want to perform here. I just been, telling people about it. And so what about, like, can we work something out?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no. They said, no, you got to go. And I was upset. So I sat down on the stage and said, I'm not going anywhere until the people get here so I can speak to them, because I have really good negotiation skills. I can talk to people. I can make them, come up with an agreement to figure out what to do.
Okay.
So I sat down on the stage, and they called the cops, and the cops escorted me out of the place.
Okay.
And they locked me up.
Okay. So what were you charged with then?
I don't remember what it was. I think it was criminal trespassing, is what they called it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
did that result in jail time?
No, it was another one of those situations where they locked me up, my grandmother bailed me out, and then they put me on probation.
Okay.
Right?
That a little bit later, but go ahead.
Yeah. So the next time that I got arrested was I had a friend who was a barber who had like a big house, and he would let me come over his house and hang out. And one day he dropped me off at this girl's house, and I was just, hanging with her. And the time passed where it started getting dark. And I called him, and I was like, look, man, I got to get back home. It's getting dark, and I don't have a car. Can you come pick me up? He's like, oh, man, I got to go do such and such, man. And I don't know if I'll be back. You might have to find another way. So I'm mind you, this is a new city. I don't have a car. I don't know how to drive. I don't know anybody out here. So I don't know anyone else to call. So I guess I just got to start walking then. So I started walking. And I walked and I walked and I walked and I walked, and there's no street lights in these places, so I can't see anything. But I do hear, like, in the distance, there's like these people, a house full of women singing, playing tambourine, singing and playing music. They're running a church inside of a house in the middle of like in like a residential community, right? So I wanted to call the dude again, but I didn't have any more battery on my phone. So I knocked on the door. I said, hey, I see that you guys are having a gathering. I don't mean to interrupt, but can I use your phone so I can call my friend, because I need a ride and I'm stuck. And they wouldn't even open the door. So from the other side of the door, they said to me, they were like, well, the police said that they wanted to. The police? I had already had 2 encounters with the police, the first 2 encounters in my entire life that I've ever had, and I don't have any interest in getting in any kind of situation with the police. I don't want to talk to no police. I don't want to see no police. I'm good. So I just left. I just kept going. And a couple of blocks down, there was like a little plaza. And in the plaza, there was a Pizza Hut. And the guy that worked at the Pizza Hut was like sweeping up, like he was closing out the store. And so I said, look, can I just get a little bit closer to the part of the city where there's street lights? Because everything is dark. I can't see. I'll ride in the back of your pickup if you can just get me a little bit closer to my grandmother's house. I'm just trying to walk home. He said, I got you, man. Don't worry about it. But as I'm sitting in the parking lot, the police that they called way back earlier, they came to the cul-de-sac.
Mm.
And they were like, questioning me, and I'm a young kid. I have no interest in this shit, so I'm crying. I'm like, please, I had gotten arrested before. I just don't want to get arrested. I'm just trying to get home. Please, just let me get home. I don't want any trouble. I don't want nothing like that. And the guy said something along the lines of, oh, I'm sorry, man. I already wrote the report, and they locked me up.
So how much time did you get for that? Well, first of all, what were you charged for that?
I don't even remember. I think that was another criminal trespassing.
And
so, yeah. And so, when that happened, me getting locked up, if I'm not mistaken, no, this isn't the time yet. This is when they put me on probation.
Okay, so you were still on probation. How old were you around this time?
I think I was like 19.
19, okay.
18, 19, something like that. So at this time, they put me on probation.
Mm-hmm.
But they also got rid of the charges from the ladies of the criminal trespassing because I actually went to trial for this. And I sat down and I explained my side of the story, and then they were just like, this is stupid. They took the charges off.
Mm-hmm.
But they still put me on probation for getting locked up or something, for some other thing. Like, I guess it was getting locked up because the first time they put me on probation, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But all I know is I don't remember the exact technicalities of why I was on probation, but I was on probation. So at this time, my grandmother's living with this asshole who, like, just, I don't know, like, he didn't know me. So he didn't know that me getting locked up multiple times was out of character. He didn't know that I wasn't a criminal or a drug addict or an alcoholic or some shit that was like a wild person, like, causing trouble. He didn't know that. All he knew was some kid that my wife brought into the house keeps getting locked up, right? So he tells me he doesn't want me going back into the house. I came to Georgia with the purpose of living in this house.
Yeah.
And so I tried to stay. The only other person that I had that I could stay with was my aunt, and she was in a situation where she was just, getting remarried and resituating her life, so she didn't want to have me there. So I kind of just had to figure out how to fend for myself, so I wasn't in anyone's way. I think I got arrested another time before the homeless thing, where I got tired of, just lugging around the city, and my grandmother had like a little gazebo in her backyard. And if I'm not mistaken, he put like some kind of restraining order on me because I got locked up. I don't understand. Like, I didn't do anything to her or to him that would cause me that to happen. So when I went in the backyard, the grandma's husband.
Okay, go ahead. Uh-huh.
So when I went to the backyard to take a nap under the gazebo, I wake up to cops, telling me that I gotta go, right? So I didn't get locked up that time, but they escorted me away from the house. And so I just took a bus downtown. I used whatever money I had to take a bus downtown. And at this point, I had no choice but to be homeless because I couldn't stay with my aunt. I couldn't stay with my grandmother. Long story short, that dude is actually, like, gone. He's no longer married to her. Before my grandmother died, we had to make sure that he got off of that, off of his information, off of her stuff, because he was a piece of shit, man. He was, like, abusing her. So.
Oh, wow.
So because of all this stuff happening, I had to live in Atlanta as a homeless person.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a college education. I didn't have a car. I didn't know anybody in the city. So I kind of just had to figure out what to do, So after a while, staying in a couple of shelters in Atlanta and, like, bouncing around and meeting all these homeless characters and stuff, eventually I found, like, a little, like, temp agency where I was able to get some work, and I was, able to get some money in my pocket. And, I was struggling for a long time living out homeless in the city, but I finally got a chance to, like, enjoy myself. So I bought some clothes. I went to a party. After the party, I went to a diner. And in the diner, I'm just chilling and talking with people and laughing. We're all joking about stuff. But the diner owner is like, now this is like after me being homeless for like 6-7 months, almost a year, just living in the city. I finally got a break, and I'm sitting in this place, and you know, he called the cops on me
Why?
because he said I was disturbing the customers.
Well, what were you doing?
I was just sitting down, chilling, and talking with people who were laughing and joking.
Hmm. Do you think that was something racial, or do you think that it was something personal?
I don't know, man. Like overall, I just know that I'm an interesting person. I'm a cool person, but I'm also a very strange person, and I don't think that that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But for a lot of people, that can be misinterpreted,
Sure.
and you know, what the default is that this person is high or drunk, and I've never been drunk or high in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've just always been awkward and silly and strange. You know, that's it.
Mm-hmm. So, with all of these arrests, how did that lead to going to jail?
So this final arrest, right, because of the fact that I got arrested,
Mm-hmm.
it was a violation of probation, right? And the probation was 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had already at this time served maybe like 2 or 3 months of probation, or maybe like 6 months of probation or something like that. And at the time during the arrest, the arresting officer, said that I had tried to physically hit him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you something, man. I was in dress clothes. I, was being dragged by 4 cops, and they were twisting my arms and like pulling me down to get into the back of the car. And I said something along the lines of, "Are you going to break my arm?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll break your arm, you stupid," like something like that. And then, but I never, like, you have to understand who I am to understand that I would never retaliate in anger with physical violence. That's just not the way that I react to things. I'm a speaker. I'm a talker. I talk my way out of shit. I would talk to your ear off, but I would talk and talk and talk until the moment comes where I would have to fight. But that's the last resort. So
Mm-hmm.
for him to say that I tried to hit him, it was just his word against my word, and pretty much it was something along the lines of this: there were 3 or 4 cops, I can't remember, trying to I wasn't even resisting. They were just trying. They were just being extra. And when they did the thing, right? When they were doing the thing, he had to like back away from my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that I had hit him. It was that in his mind, I had attempted to make contact with him. But not that I made contact, but that I attempted to make contact. So this, in Georgia, physical assault on a police officer is considered a felony in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even get a chance to hit a cop. I could have at least got a hit off. You know what I mean? I got a felony for almost hitting a cop.
Wow. I know that's life changing right there.
Yeah. So
That's
my probation. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, my probation went from 2 years probation to 5 years probation.
Oh, wow.
For a felony first offender, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I complete the 5 years probation, then they'll take it off of my record and it will be expunged, correct?
Now, did you have a trial for this, or what? Did you plead to it, or how did that work?
So it's like this, man. I was in the jail for a little over almost 2 years, a year and some change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to get out of there, man.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time that they finally got a trial going, or got me a attorney so I could get a trial, he gave me an ultimatum. He was like, "Look, I know you've been in here for a long time. What we could do is we could build up a trial. Okay. We don't know how long it's going to take, but you might be in here for another week. You might be in here for another 4 months, 5 months, or you can take a plea. You can take a plea, and when you take the plea, then they'll do 5 years probation. Well, you already served 2 years, so that's 3 years probation, right? Once you complete the probation, the felony will be expunged from your record. All you have to do is plead nolo, and then you basically got it. You can do that.
To plead nolo? What is that?
It basically means that nolo contendere or something like that, where you basically are pleading guilty, but
Okay.
you're not admitting that you actually did it.
Okay.
You're not saying that you did or didn't do it, but you're taking a guilty plea because it's a better option for you to be able to move forward. So it's not admitting guilt, but it's taking a guilty plea for the purpose of taking a plea.
So once you were in jail, they gave you a public defender, as you said, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that the public defender did a pretty good job with your case, or do you feel that they were just trying to get it, taken care of or rushed off?
I think he was just trying. I think he was trying to get out of it, because he had talked to me and we kind of like went over the situation, and he kind of like showed me how it went, like showed me how this happened. Like they this is how you were in this position. So he was trying to figure out what exactly happened.
Okay.
But then when he said you can leave, see when they make the plea bargain for you, right?
Yeah.
The option isn't like, oh well, it's gonna take a couple days for us to get that plea going. No. The plea gets you out that day.
Okay. And you just took it just to get out.
Same day. Yeah. So he said you can leave today, like right now. After we close out this stuff, sign this paperwork, you can leave today. I was like, oh yes, please. So I left.
Mm-hmm.
I left.
Now, while you were in there, did your family help you at all?
I think they sent me some money, like on the books, like to buy things, like sometimes you can get like soups, or you can get like extra stuff like underwear or socks or shoes or stuff like that. But they didn't really do it that much because, like I said, I mean, my grandmother was doing her own thing, my aunt was doing her own thing. Nobody was really interested in me. I think they made a couple of visits to see me, but they had their own thing going on, and it was jail, but I was still like, I'm not a criminal. So while jail is not prison, it's still like extreme for someone like me, especially when things happen within the system that, traumatize me. Like,
well, what types of things happened, traumatized you that you saw?
It was more so what they did to me. It was just like, because I had a defiant nature, I was kind of upset with them at one incident where they wouldn't give me a chance to get clean underwear. So when they had, said, hey, it's time for everyone to go back to their cells, I didn't go in my cell. And this is a big no-no. So they called everybody in and they did the thing and they shut everything down and they brought me into isolation. And I was in isolation for a long time. Like, I don't even remember how long it was. But just being in there by myself, it was like 10 years later, I'm still traumatized by that. And because I was like being extra and like singing in the cell and trying to like, keep my head out of what was happening, they thought that I was like out of my mind. Okay. So they would do things like put me on suicide watch and take all my clothes and put me in like a turtle suit, and instead of giving me regular food, putting my food in like eggs, like an egg loaf, and I had to eat whatever they're giving me like in an egg loaf, whatever they were eating that night, but it was all mushed together in eggs.
Wow. How did you handle it? How did you, stop yourself from just breaking mentally while you were in there?
I mean, like I said, I would like, I'm a writer, so I would write songs in my head, but they wouldn't give you pen and paper. I would write songs, I would sing the songs, I would like remember them because I can like build a song in my head. Like I can build like a full song in my head by just like keep tacking on lines, and eventually I can have like a full 16. I've written songs where I was driving in the beginning of the day and I got home and I had the whole verse finished, but I didn't write one thing down. It's like you could stack it, especially if you're looping a beat. And so I would just, do like that. And it got to the point where the people in the other cells that didn't even see me were like making requests and telling me, yo, sing this, sing that. Yo, we want you to sing. Like, they were like telling me to sing. It was really crazy, man. And because I was causing like trouble, there was a point where like they took me out of my cell and strapped me into a chair, man, put like one of those things over my head. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that there's some footage of me butt ass naked, dog, sitting in a chair with a spit guard over my face. This is jail.
This is weird and hard for me to just, because you know how long we've known each other. and
Yeah.
it's weird. We didn't talk about the episode before, and I normally do. Didn't because you said you wanted to keep it authentic, and
Yeah.
it's breaking my heart to see it, to hear about it, to hear about what you went through. I'm happy that you made it out. I really am. I'm happy. Um, what's the problems did you have in jail? Beside the being shut down and like did you see anything like did you get into a lot of fights with the prisoner, into a lot of fights with the guard, anything like that?
So I knew that I was going to be in there for a long time. So I wanted to make my sentence, the time that I was there, a little bit, more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that my mother has like a history of mental illness, and so I tried to play it up so that I could be put into a psychiatric ward where the inmates that are in there are not hardened criminals, but just mental patients.
Okay.
And they're not going to be like fighting all the time and causing trouble. I knew this. I just knew that was going to be the situation. But in order for me to be able to be put into the psychiatric unit, I had to be proven to be incapacitated. So I played it up.
Mm-hmm.
And they took me to an actual mental institution and made me do a psychiatric evaluation. And the first time they sent me, they're like, "There's nothing wrong with this guy, man. Send him back." They sent me back to isolation. And I was sick and tired of being in isolation. So I just wanted to, when they brought the psychiatrist back, I amped it up. I started acting strange, right? So they brought me back, and they were actually able to get me out of the jail into the psychiatric ward. I spent a period of time, maybe like 2 weeks. There's no cages. It's beds. The food portions are a lot bigger. There's, crayons and television. It's open space. You're in jail. You're an inmate, but you're not in jail in the cells. It only lasted for 2 weeks because they were trying to get me to take like psychiatric medication. And I never took it. It sounds like a movie or some crazy shit, but I really I just wanted the benefit of being in there without having to actually take the medicine because my mother was on that shit for a long time and it didn't do anything for her. So what I would do is,
what was your mother on medication?
Bipolar, schizophrenia, stuff like that. So I mean, I don't even know what the medication they prescribed to me was, but I never took it. What I did was I would like put it in my mouth, like in the roof of my mouth. And I would do the thing and show them that I ate it or whatever, and then I would spit it out. And I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me. Like, after a while, I kind of got, like, guilty. I felt guilty for not taking the medicine that they were giving and lying to them. So one day, during the lineup, I said to them, like, I wasn't taking any of the stuff y'all gave me. And I was, like, sad, and I was crying or whatever. I said, I didn't take anything. I've been lying. I've been spitting it out, right? And they got like these like nurses and they came and they stuck me in the butt and sedated me. And after that, I started taking their thing. So they sent me back into the general population in the ward that I was in before they had done the psychiatric evaluation. And the warden that was running that unit said, "Look, man, this guy, ever since he started taking that stuff, he's not been himself." So I don't know if it was a combination of me just being sad that I gave in, started taking it, or that I just was being like negatively affected by it, where I was becoming like zombie-like. And he said, "Man, take him off of that shit." And so they took me off of it. They took me off of it, and I never took it ever since then.
I know you're happy to be off.
Huh?
So I know you're happy to be off of those.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was like 10 years ago. So, I mean, there never was anything wrong with me mentally where I couldn't be a functioning person in society. I've held a job. I've had 2 kids. I had a family. A wife and kids, and bills and housing, everything like that needs to be taken care of. I was able to maintain as a normally fully functioning person. My mother, on the other hand, she still has trouble struggling living a normal life. She can't get jobs. She, can't, just be normal. And so I was doing everything in my power once I got out, after, I had finally got back on my feet, to make sure that I didn't create a situation where I would become reliant on the government for like my check or whatever. So I wanted to be self-sufficient, and that's what I was able to do. So I mean, I'm respected as an artist, as a producer, as a singer, and people really like my talent. In the workforce, I have a little bit of trouble because it's not where I need to be. Like, I'm not a worker. I'm a creative. I want to be like an employee. So sometimes my creative expression can sometimes throw people off because I don't do the corporate speak thing. I don't like it. I don't do it. So it causes some trouble. But I mean, I've been at this job that I'm at for like 3-4 years now, and I'm not incapable of being a normal person in society. My eccentricities and my mania, whatever happens to me when I don't get enough sleep and I start getting like a creative like focus, that shit actually helps me to be a good creative. So it never really has affected my life to the point where I can't be a fully functioning person in society. Like, you see it. I've created a podcast. I run the podcast. I've recorded several albums. I produce records for all different kinds of artists from all different walks of life. I write. I do a lot of different things. I'm writing. Film. I do acting. I've done a lot of appearances in music videos as a character and acting and stuff like that. So I'm not. There's nothing wrong with me.
I know probably tried to treat you like it was something wrong with you. I think that's one of the things that jail kind of takes away. They label you once you especially when you go to jail. They try to tell you who you are. It's weird because, again, I know you. You were like the little brother to me. Back when we were in the Sigma Beta Club in high school, you were the little brother. So just hearing about this it's mind-boggling. For people that have never been to jail, it's mind-boggling because you don't know what goes on, and then the fact that you're going through so many things because you were pretty much a naive, innocent kid. You really were naive, innocent kid, little gullible. But because, again, you didn't know. You grew up pretty sheltered.
You
didn't, I guess, understand how to survive in the world alone at that point. You had no idea. You had no one there to help you navigate it.
No father, like a couple of male figures in my life, but they were like kind of like floating in and out. They didn't really like stick around. So whatever I had to learn, I had to figure it out myself. My grandmother did a lot of great stuff and showed me a lot of interesting things and important things about my life, my character, and the way that my character and my integrity and the way that I've developed it over time. But there's just some things that a woman can't do as far as like training a man in a specific mindset as a man. It just never will compare to another man. And I didn't have any strong male figures until I got out of this homeless shelter. This is after I had got released and I was on probation for felony obstruction, right?
What year were you actually released?
I think it was 2009, something like that.
So you were paroled? They released you from probation. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You were released because you took
probation.
Yeah, because of the plea deal. Okay. Now,
and so this opportunity that I got was to be in this transitional housing program. But had I not, asked, so here's the thing. There's this place that we go to eat food on and listen to music. Sometimes a group of a church or something will come by, sing some songs, pray, then they'll give you some food, right? And this happened to be a day where they got double booked. 2 pastors got booked for the event at the same time. And so one of the pastors, I asked him, hey, can you give me some money for me to, because one of the pastors talked about the transitional housing program. And he was like, well, you can take the this is how you get here. You take this bus, and you get to Gwinnett County. But, so I asked the second pastor that was there, if he can loan me money so that I could get to Gwinnett County. And I took a one-way trip that way. And I never went back. After like 3 years, I never went back to downtown Atlanta, except for when they went back to like do the thing again, praise and sing. They found out that I had the ability to sing. So I started to become a part of the praise team and I would sing for them. And then that's how they would pay me to sing too. I would get extra money for singing. But the organization leader, Greg Kennard, took a fatherly type of role to the point where he was really like guiding me and trying to help me to become better. So like I said, I went from being homeless on probation to paying off all my probation, getting a driver's license, getting married, having 2 kids, going from a apartment to a 2-bedroom townhome to a 3-bedroom house, like exponentially growing my life. Being a professional driver, like never knowing how to drive, and then driving probably more than anyone's driven in their life, and since I've been doing these driving jobs as a pest control guy. But I would, if I did not have that transitional housing program to bounce me out of that situation, I would be back in jail. Because most people on paper, if you look at the paper, I got arrested 4 times. I'm a problem. I have some kind of a mental illness, or I'm an addict, or so it's only they sign those deals for you because they know that. Well, look at the paper. He got locked up 4 times. He'll be back. He'll fuck up again, and he'll be back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I was never, because of the fact that I was an anomaly, that I was in the situation just because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it was just strange that I was in this situation. I was not the typical person that was in those environments, and so I was able to navigate my way out of it and then come on the other side and actually get expunged and actually complete the probation, and now I no longer have a felony. But, yeah, I mean, the most people that get in this situation, they're going to get locked up again. Recidivism.
Is that a fear of yours? Are you afraid of ever being in the situation of ever being arrested again?
No. I have no reason to.
Okay.
I have no reason to. I don't engage in illegal activity. I do hang around with unsavory people sometimes because I'm a musician. I'm a musician, and there's a lot of people that make music that are, in criminal life. But they know that spooks don't do that shit.
Well, you were on probation. So as a part of your probation, are you allowed to be around people that I guess would be considered to be unsavory?
Well, I had no choice. When I was on probation, I was living in a homeless shelter. So everyone around me were drug addicts and alcoholics and, degenerates.
So are you off of probation now?
Remember, this happened 10 years ago.
So you're off. Good.
I've been off.
Now, what exactly is probation like? What is it required? We've heard the stories about how you have to take drug tests or alcohol tests. What else does it entail?
Yeah, you got to go all the time, do breathalyzers, do piss tests. You got to pay to be there, like whenever, like a fee, I think it's like a monthly probation fee or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you gotta keep going there. And imagine this, like I said, didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Imagine if I was somebody who relied on public transportation in Gwinnett County. Now, I don't know if you know about this, but in the South, there's this like racist situation where they're not funding public transportation into these outer cities from Atlanta, because they don't want the riffraff and the homeless and the black people and the poor people to be coming to their places and messing up their jobs. And so they've tried on numerous occasions to expand the MARTA to Gwinnett County, but they deny it every time. So you can't rely on public transportation to get you to these places. So you rely on the kindness of others. You got to get people to give you a ride, stuff like that. But because I was in a transitional housing program, the part of the program was they will get me to my probation if I need to, And so if I didn't have that, I would have missed probation. I wouldn't have been able to take my tests. I wouldn't have been able to pay my fees, and I would have been locked up again for violation of probation. It's a never-ending loop. It never ends. Mm-hmm. Most people that just got out of jail don't have access to the resources that I had to be able to get me to and from probation.
You were lucky.
Yes, I was very, 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 very lucky. I really was.
Unfortunate that a lot of people don't have those opportunities. And then even when you get out, it's hard to get a job. It's hard to get housing. In certain cases, it's hard to get education. Did that affect you in terms of getting jobs or getting housing once you got out?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't get a regular job until the felony was expunged. Because every time that I put, they had that part on the test that said, "Do you have a felony?" I have to put yes. So before I was able to get a regular job, I'm talking about like I work for an organization, a company that has benefits. Like before I was able to do that, I had to do whatever I could to survive. So in the transitional housing program, you actually have a job when you get in there.
Mm-hmm.
The job is at a call center,
Mm-hmm.
and normally you do that for about a year or two, and then you go on and do your own thing and get your own job. But because I didn't have any college education, I didn't have any prospects, and I was a felon, I had no choice but to stay there. So I was there for an extended amount of time. The program lasts for a year, but I was in the program for about 2 years plus, and I ended up getting my own apartment under the lease of the owner who ran the program, and running their music portion of their organization, and basically paid for my whole, he said, hey, I want to start this gospel record label, and I want you to tell me what you need to record music and produce music. And he just bought me a whole studio.
God, lucky. Wow.
Yeah, man.
You definitely need to call your next album Blessed.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy how much. But the thing is, that whole studio situation, and I don't want to get off topic, but that situation, there's always a moment where I feel like everything's gonna be all right, and then something crazy happens. And that's what happened. It was everything was good. I had my own studio. I didn't come out of pocket, not one penny. But because he had this lease under his name, and he quickly signed it to get me my own apartment, he didn't sign up for renter's insurance. So someone broke into the studio and to the apartment and robbed me for all the studio equipment. I'm on the top floor. They were throwing stuff off the balcony. I don't know how the fuck they got to do that shit. But yeah, all that stuff was gone.
Oh wow.
That's a side story, but that's why But I'm just saying, when I couldn't do that, I would okay, so the money that you make from the call center isn't really going to sustain an apartment, so I had to do side stuff. The organization would let me run the social media pages, and they would pay me to run social media, and I would sing for them every single week without fail. So he would pay me to sing. And then I think there was a point where I was just doing call center work remotely from random places, and then I would work at cleaning office buildings late at night, and that's what I did. That's what I did.
That's good.
And then eventually, I found an actual job. I started doing research marketing, where you go into it's a different call center job, but it's more higher pay, and it's a little bit more than just asking for clothing donations. So.
Oh wow. Now, you've made it through this, which again, this speaks to your toughness, speaks to you being blessed. What advice would you give to someone that has either gone through this or is getting ready to go through this? That's getting ready to run through the criminal justice system. What advice would you give them?
I would just say, whatever you feel like you need to say or do to make your point or prove your point, just wait till it's time to talk. Don't say nothing, man. Don't just wait until it's time to talk to the lawyer. Don't tell the cops anything. Don't try to negotiate anything with the cops. Don't try to sit there and try to explain your case to the cops. If they are gonna arrest you, let them do that, and then deal with it in the court. Because if you're trying to, de-escalate the situation or talk down what's happening, it doesn't work in this situation. If you're a very gift for gab person and you've always been able to, use your words to encourage or to de-escalate a situation, it's not going to work when the cops are there. If you're a very talkative and good speaker, you speak well, and you're able to readjust the vibe in the room by just talking to people and switching it up, that's great. But it's not going to work when the cops are there. They don't give a fuck about none of that shit.
Wow.
And then when it comes time, if you have to take a plea for any kind of thing that for a fact that you don't deserve, don't take the plea. You need to just go ahead and build that trial. Because if you know that you're innocent, you need to make sure that you prove that you're innocent. Build the trial. Let them go through the whole system. Don't just take a plea and say, yeah, I just want to go home. You know, stay there for a couple more months if you have to, just to get this trial built. Because if you know for a fact that you're right and there's no reason you should have been arrested, you will beat that. You just have to you have to have confidence in yourself and don't just let them, play you, man. Because this thing, they need you to be in the system. That's how they make money, man. If they're not making money off of tickets, they're making money off of probation. And there's a lot of people in Georgia. Now I wish I came through with some statistics. There's a lot of people in Georgia that are on probation.
Oh.
This old Mexican lady just hit me in my car. That's right, she just bumped it. She just bumped it a little bit.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's so funny.
Olin, I really appreciate being on here. I appreciate you being candid. It was an open, honest, almost emotional. You almost got me emotional for about 2 seconds, right? Because, it's real. We all know people that happen to, and we all say, yeah, it's them, but it'll never happen to me. Or
if you would have told me that I would have got locked up, I would laugh in your face. I would call you a liar. There's no chance in hell I'm getting locked up. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I had all these plans for my life, but that doesn't matter. What God has planned for you, where your destination is supposed to be, that's where God has to place you. And I genuinely feel that I was placed in this situation so I can feel empathy for people that I probably might have had like a little bit of a arrogance to. I probably looked down on these people, like, homeless people. Just get it together, whatever, man. Homeless. What are you doing, man? Why are you doing that? Or, oh, you're, man, just stop getting in trouble. You're stupid. Like, I had no empathy for these people. But I was placed in a situation where now I feel for them. And I know what they have to go through. And I can, and if I ever get a chance to help them, I will, because it's very easy to fall victim to the system.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is. And luckily you were able to help people just tonight by you talking. I'm pretty sure that just your story and what you've gone through is going to help you. Whether you know it or not, but it's definitely what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for questions or comments, statements. For anyone that's new to this, the way that we do it is we do it one of three ways. Use the hand raise feature. In order to access that, you go to the 3 dots on your screen that says more, and there's an option there to raise your hand. If that doesn't work, you can physically raise your hand on the screen because I can see you all. And you can kind of take your mics off and ask a question. So does anyone? Oh, I'm sorry. Or you can also send a chat. You can also send a question in the chat. So does anyone have any questions or comments? No. Okay. I do have a couple messages that were texted to me. Okay. One that was texted to me was, do you still have any psychological effects from being in prison or being in jail?
Like I said, I still think about it all the time. Like, it might not make me feel like I'm traumatized, but I mean, I still think about it like on a regular basis. Like I said, 10 years ago this happened, and people will be like, "Well, that doesn't define you. Why you keep talking about it?" Well, it's a very definitive thing. It was in my early 20s. I spent my 21st birthday in jail.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a little bit traumatizing. So yeah, I'm affected to a degree where I have a little bit of disdain for police officers at this point in my life. I kind of like frown upon them or give them like the ugly face, or I would, the last resort would be for me to call the cops for help. I really just, have no interest in talking to cops or being involved in police officers. So that's probably the effect. But as far as psychologically, like I said, I'm still traumatized by that. I mean, I'm not saying I have nightmares, but I do think about it, and it makes me upset. And I wish that there was a way that I could go to Gwinnett County and try to like get some kind of compensation for them wasting my time for some foolishness, stupid little petty thing. But I just gotta let it go. But if it was up to me, I would try to like sue them or do something like that. But that's my ego. That's me wanting to get something out of this. But at the end of the day, I don't need to do any of that. I just need to just let it go.
Okay. Wow. Does anyone else have any questions before I go to the next texted question? Hang on one second. I'm scrolling through the screens. Looks like the hand raise button option isn't working. So if you have a question, you can take your mic off or send it through the chat. All right, I have another one that was texted to me. Where is it? Okay, someone took their mic off. Who was that? Carol, was that you? Oh.
Okay, I'll go now. I took off, but I was like, oh, I'll let someone else ask a question. Thank you so very much for sharing your story. The point where you emphasize, I guess, perhaps you were in jail, and there came a time where I'm assuming your attorney may have said that if you accept this deal, then you'll get out today. I think that am I correct? Did I rehash the story correctly?
Yep.
Okay. And I think the point that you brought up is so important, because it sounds like you were sitting in jail pending, I guess, the resolution of this matter, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think your advice was in the end, you told, or I guess your general advice is if a person finds themselves charged, that they should take their time and not accept their plea. And I think what that piece of advice that you just gave is detrimental, because oftentimes, especially if it's a misdemeanor, you'll find that so many times maybe a defense attorney, even though they shouldn't, in the interest of time and not necessarily in the interest of their defendant, they'll suggest, okay, well, just plead because ultimately you're going to get credit for time served. So I thank you for sharing that, and hopefully someone picked up on that piece of advice that ultimately your attorney, regardless if it's a public defender, that person works for you. Make them work for their money. I guess my question to you is, because I know that you mentioned that you had a couple of run-ins with the law, and then there was, I guess, a diversionary program. And I think the time when you started to make contact with the law, you were an adult. Did any of those diversionary programs offer additional housing? Because I know there was an issue with like your housing, staying with your grandmother. Did they offer any housing? And perhaps maybe if, let's say for instance, the county or, I guess, I don't know, a nonprofit would have offered you additional resources, do you think that would have changed the trajectory of your life?
So by the time that I got to the transitional housing program, all that stuff had already happened. So I was at the point where now I'm on probation. But what I was saying about taking the plea, I'm talking about people in specific situations. That there are many instances where, yeah, taking a plea definitely makes a lot more sense. But I'm talking about me being a person who has no reason to have a felony on my record, being offered a plea knowing that I was innocent, and being offered the plea where the option is to have a felony for 3+ years. I felt like that was not a good idea. And if that's the option, that you should, hold off instead of just, because having a felony really affected my ability to get a job. So if they're going to give you a felony and you're innocent, I feel like you should wait. But as far as the transitional housing program, they offered a lot of different things. And like I said, at the point that I was at the transitional housing program, I had already done all the stuff that I needed to do as far as going through the law. And so if I had found the transitional housing program, maybe like the first time that I had gotten homeless, I probably would not have, gone to the party. I would have been under strict rules where there's a curfew and you got to do things. And you got to, be at certain events and things. So I wouldn't have gone to the party in the first place. But at this point, it was too late. I had already been out of jail for several months at this point, and then I went to the transitional housing program. And some of the things that they offered were they actually require you to go back to school. So I had to go to school. I had to go to church. I had to go to whatever, group therapies or, whatever they offered. I had to go to the workout. Like, there was a strict regimen on their lifestyle. And so 10 years later, when I go back to the city, there are people that I see that are still homeless to this day. And it's sad because it's like, these people are troubled and there's nothing that they can do about it because the system is not designed for them to win. And when I go, like, man, you still out here, man? He's like, yeah, man, I'm just trying my best to get out of here. But he's on drugs. He's on alcohol. He's like, he has mental issues where he just can't, keep a job, stuff like that. So, like I said, I'm an anomaly in this situation because I'm an outsider looking in. I'm not a criminal. I'm not an addict. And so I can see the flaws in the system. You go to these shelters and the only option is, well, you can either go find a job and go get a job interview, or by the time, most of the time these places are overbooked and they get filled, the beds get filled by 3 p.m. So you can either like have a bed or sleep in the street, but you can't go to job interviews at 2. It's like, it's just not set up in a way where you can win. But this particular program, Inspire Outreach, Inspire is a place in Atlanta, NSPIRE. They give you a job immediately. They give you clothes immediately. They give you housing immediately. They give you opportunities to grow. And, a lot of these places, they only give you a bed for the night.
Wow. Carol, does that answer your question?
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Right. Yeah, if I would have found that program earlier, the first time that my grandparents wouldn't let me live in their house, man, I would have been straight, man. Straight. But no.
Does anyone else have any questions? Trying to look through the screens because there's a couple of screens here. All right. Here's one that was sent to me. What's the craziest thing that you saw, experienced while you were in jail?
Man, there's this like really big Asian guy who was like, like physically fighting like 10 officers. Like one time he would not like comply, and he was huge. He was huge. He had to be like 6 feet, like Yao Ming type, and he was strong. He was strong too. And so when they were trying to like take him down, there were literally like 8 to 10 officers trying to get this guy down, and he was just he was hurting all of them. They sprayed him, they tased him, they tried to get him down, and nothing. He just was like just resilient, and it was just wow looking at this guy just fighting off all these cops. But like I said, I was in a situation where it was very tame because they put me because I had to get a psychiatric evaluation. They put me in the ward where the people that were there were just gentle giants that ended up in a bad situation. You know what I mean? A lot of those people were just, not right, and that's all that was there. So a lot of them weren't really too violent, and it wasn't too crazy. Yeah. But you talk about when I was living in the homeless shelter. Now there's a place that's just there's no rules. It's just wild. I mean, people were getting stabbed. People were getting like beat up. I would see people like killed over on heroin. There was like, the smell when you walk in there. It's like, imagine like 100 homeless people all in one big building. Like the second you walk into the front door, the smell is just rancid. It's just horrible. And they're all men. It's a men's shelter too. So, it's just, it was just a wild situation, man. Like I said, stabbings, shootings, people, just wow, just a wild lifestyle. This place that I would stay at, the Overflow Shelter, Peachtree and Pine in downtown Atlanta, is actually defunct now because the money that they were making for the money that they're supposed to be paying for their utilities and things, they weren't paying for. They were just, I guess I don't know what they were doing with the money, but they were misallocating the money, and they wouldn't pay their water bill, they wouldn't pay their electric bills, and eventually they shut down that whole thing. So a lot of those homeless people that relied on that Overflow Shelter, they don't get access to that anymore because it was a lawless place that was just chaos, and they didn't take care of the things that they needed to take care of. So the thing that I did notice, not from jail, but from the way that they treat homeless people in America, is that this system is designed to they got to collect these names. They got to collect these. They want you to sign that paper because the more names they get, the more money that they're going to get from outside source.
Wow.
Someone said, do you think racial profiling, what did it say?
I was actually going to read them. We have 2 questions from Kamina. The first one is, did you meet other people in your similar situation in jail?
No, most of the people were like, had serious problems. They were career criminals, and they were just, Like they were problems. Before they put me in the psychiatric ward where they had the people that were in there, all the people that I met in the regular ward, they were all criminals. They were all just, like most of them were bad, but there were a couple people that were just like. But here's the thing: so a lot of people would say like, "Man, I ain't do nothing, man. I'm innocent," but that's everybody in there. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell who's for real and who's just saying that because that's the thing to say when you get locked up. Oh, that's bull. They locked me up for some bullshit, man. Everybody says that. So you couldn't tell who was real and who was fake. It was really strange. Mm. But as far as like somebody said something about racial profiling, yeah.
I'll actually read that. I'm going to read that one out. But the question from Kamina is, do you think that racial profiling has something to do with your interactions and why?
Yeah, I mean, I might be light-skinned, but I look like a Mexican. Or like a Puerto Rican or something, man. And you got to understand, in the South, man, I didn't understand this. But there's a big stigma against Hispanic people in the South. They don't like people that look Hispanic or black or anything. They will mess with you because you're black. And it never, looking at the stuff like George Floyd and all the other people that died in the hands of police, it never occurred to me that my life could have possibly been in danger too. That I could have died from what like these different interactions that I had. It never occurred to me that I could be dead because of that.
Wow.
And so, yes, I 1,000% think, that racial profiling played a big factor. Because, remember, I called the police for help, and I was a young black kid. Mm-hmm. And the people that they let go were young white kids. Mm-hmm. So, yes, 1,000% has to do with race. And a lot, and like I said, there was a big Asian dude that was fighting all these cops. But that was one of 2 Asian dudes in the whole entire jail that I came across. And then a couple of Hispanics and a lot, but the majority of the makeup of the people that were in the jail and in the homeless shelter. Thank you, Kamina. A lot of the people that were in the jail and the people that were in the homeless shelter were people of color, black people, Hispanic people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that may play a part. Does anyone? We have another question. From Tamaya, I hope I got your name right. Please tell me I did. How do you think your life would be different if you didn't come to Georgia?
Well, you have to understand, James knows too, that I was not a person that was in the shit. Like I was not into this like foolishness, So eventually I would have just went to college. I mean, I was in Phi Beta Sigma, so I would have probably pledged a Sigma. I was in Sigma Beta, so I probably would have pledged Phi Beta Sigma, I would have been a frat boy who, did music.
Yeah.
And, had a college degree and maybe had like a little cushy job. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I was. I'm an intellectual. I'm a thinker. And I would have fit perfectly into college, but that just never happened. Never got around to doing it. I mean, it's not that I won't go. I did do some college. Like I said, when I was in the transitional housing program, I did some college at some points in Georgia and in New Jersey. But I probably would have really went further into just going into university. And I probably would have my, bachelor's by now. And I probably, I really had no problem in the scholastic area. I've always been a person that really, excelled in education if I tried. Mm-hmm. But of course, toward the end of high school, I kind of just started like being involved with girls and doing things like that. So I kind of fell off on like being academic and being studious. But when I was a kid, I was a straight A student. And if I really wanted to focus and just get my head back in the game, yeah, I would be a great college student. I would have had my several degrees by now.
Bro, it's not too late. You can still go to school and get your degree. My mom got her degree in her 50s. So it's not, it's definitely not too late. Here's a question from, not a question to flowing in. Hang on one second. We have them from Joe in Court. How was your adjustment back into society after you were incarcerated?
Well, you have to understand that before that, like you said, I was privileged. I never had a real job. I never had to answer to anybody for real like that. So I kept that mentality of I'm an artist, I'm expressive, I'm goofy, I'm silly, and I never was told to get in line. That type of environment, that type of attitude works very well when you live with your parents and you get to go out and, make music and stuff. But when you're forced to be a part of whatever this shit is that's happening. But then when you're forced to be a part of that stuff, it's like, me being a free spirit, a free artist, mindset that have been, heavily engulfed in the art world, where people, where people appreciate your eccentricities. Talking in the manner and acting in the way that I do got me in a lot of trouble. People just didn't like the way that I spoke and the way that I moved and the way that I shook, because I behave as an artist. I'm an artist. That's the way that I wanted to. That's the way I wanted to live my life. I have no interest in being in the corporate world. And so, yeah, I had a really hard time adjusting, because I had no choice but to fit into whatever was going on. So I had to put the headset on and say, "Hi, welcome to such and such, and are you interested in donating?" I had to code switch for sure. But at the end of the day, I'm a hood dude who has hood mentality, who likes ghetto aesthetics, and that's the thing that I like. I like hood shit, and I don't want to be in the corporate world. I never wanted to be in the corporate world. I knew that I had a gift as an artist, as a speaker, as a rapper, as a producer, and I knew that if I focused on that I could really grow in it. And I still know that I can. But I had no choice in order for me to survive, to maintain. I had to fit into these corporate situations where I had to become some kind of thing that I wasn't. I know what I was. I knew what I was when I was 15 years old, and I had a studio in my grandmother's attic, and we were making music. I knew what I was. I knew what I wanted to be when I was 15 years old, and there's not too many people that have that opportunity. But once I was derailed with the whole law enforcement thing, I had to figure out how to be normal, and it sucks because I'm not normal. I don't want to be normal, man. It's just whack. So yeah, I had a really hard time adjusting to that, and I still kind of do have a little bit of trouble adjusting to that, because that's just not who I am. I'm not the company man. I'm trying to make my own company,
We have a question from Kamina. Based on your experiences, what advice would you give to your children as they grow up in society?
Yes, I have 2 kids now, and I don't even know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. Because it's like, remember that thing that we talked about, where the black kid sits down with his parents and they run down the whole gist of how to deal with cops and how to deal with society and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never had that conversation, so I wouldn't even know where to start with that conversation with my son. I would just say to be honest and have integrity, and don't be shady person trying to get off on everybody. That's what trying to beat the system and get off and try to figure out a way that you can be lazy and not try. Work hard, do what you got to do, be respectful. But I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to tell him, because it's just so much social nuance nowadays with social media, and I have no idea where it's going to be in 10 years from now. Our communication is breaking down. The way that we speak to people, the way that we communicate with people, it's all over the place. And so back in the day, there was a way that things should go, and you would go, this is how things go. But I don't even know how the fuck things go, because everything is just chaos right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell where my kids will be in 10 years from now, or what I would need to explain to them. Because right now it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, but I don't know what it's going to be in the future. So yeah, like I could say all these things, but society is just so hodgepodge. It's just all over the place that it would be really hard for me to say, like, this is what you should do, son. But I know that there's one thing that always works, and that's universal, is like I said, work hard, be respectful to your elders, try your best to be honest and caring. Don't try to get off on people and lie and steal and cheat. That's all I could say. And I wish that I could say that if you do those things, then you won't get locked up and you won't get in trouble with the law. But unfortunately, I can't say that, because I didn't do any of the things that these cats were doing in the ghetto, and I still got locked up.
Well, here's another question. Have you ever gone to therapy, or are you currently going to therapy?
Yeah, so I went to therapy a couple of times, but just like with my job schedule, I haven't been able to have a consistent therapist as of yet. But I'm definitely open to the idea. In fact, the pastor that ran that transitional housing program, he's actually doing a lot of different things nowadays. He's actually involved in Georgia government and stuff, so he has a little bit extra money, and so he's trying to help me because of he knows that I'm having trouble dealing with the divorce and everything. That help me to, it's not that I can't pay for therapy, but he wants to help make it a little bit easier for me. So yeah, I mean, this person still keeps in touch with me to this day. I still sing at his church on Sundays. I still keep in touch with him on a regular basis. We talk, and he wants to see me grow. He knows that this transitional housing program thing is not just a 1 year and you're out. A client is done and then you're out. This organization is a lifelong thing, and they keep in touch with me, and they offered me their therapist, and we talk to some of them every once in a while. But as far as having a one therapist that I talk to that I could delve deep in with, it's never happened. Even with marriage counseling and marriage therapy, we never got past the first 2-3 sessions because our schedules are so crazy.
Well,
So,
if the marriage therapy, I know a great program called He Said, She Said. I can definitely put you in contact with the person that runs that. They can
okay.
Therapy, and if you need
Well, I mean,
therapy,
I have no interest at this point in trying to mend the marriage, unfortunately.
well, not necessarily in the future when it comes to relationships or just that type. I can put you in contact with that person. He's actually on right now. And
okay.
Joe, he runs He Said, She Said, which is a relationship program.
Well, Joe, I don't want to go off topic, but I will say that the whole situation, like, you have to understand, I was being told by society that I was something, and I had to fight so that I could come out on the other side and prove that I'm not what you guys think I am. I'm not a juvenile delinquent. I'm not a homeless person, and I did all that. And then I got married, and I had to prove to my wife that I'm not any of those things too, and she didn't believe me. So it's like I'm at the point where it's like the criminal justice system and society never gave me a reason to trust them, and now I don't know who to trust. So as far as me getting into a relationship or trying to have positive thinking about what it means to be in a relationship, I'm honestly at the point where it's like it's just me for myself and my kids at this point, because I don't know who to trust anymore.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I'm gonna put you in contact with some people.
Yeah, please.
I know a few therapists. Some are in Georgia. Some do they do video conference. I'm gonna put you in contact with some people. Joe's group, He Said, She Said, they run a great community, and they take people from all walks of life. And maybe Joe can explain it a little bit better than I will be able to. But different walks of life. They walk into relationships, the Bible, through life. Joe, you may have to explain it better than I can, but
Yeah. Let me jump in there.
Okay. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We're a community, man, of believers that believe that if we put God first, we have relationships that last a lifetime. And I'm one of your least likeliest persons to have something like this, because I used to live in Jersey. I live in North Carolina now. I live in Charlotte. And, I was running through women left and right, and God literally stopped me in my tracks. So I know what it's like to give up on relationships, because I never had those. I had a lot of short-term relationships. I always make a joke that I had a PhD in short-term relationships and a GED in real relationships. You know what I'm saying? So I know what it's like. But man, we come from different walks of life, different levels, and we're just trying to improve as people, man. And we just do it together. We don't do it alone.
I'll definitely put you guys in contact with each other.
Yeah, please.
A lot of prominent members that are in that community, including doctors, therapists, psychologists, that can't practice in Georgia. So I'm definitely going to put you in contact with them.
Yeah, I'm definitely for mental health and therapy and taking care of yourself in that regard, because it's become a taboo for a long time, and it just now has become more accepted in the Black community to really take care of yourself and your mental health. Yeah, I'm down for it. I'm a big advocate for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely put you in contact. Do we have any other questions or comments?
I just want to thank you, man, for being open and honest as you were, man. We really, I think I can speak for everybody. We really appreciate it. The topic was heavy, to be honest. I think that maybe that's why we're a little quiet tonight. But we just, I want to say that as a community, we're definitely praying for you, man, that everything works out the way that it should for you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, for real.
Absolutely.
Because you really feel like alone out here, man, for real.
Yeah. Praying for you, brother.
You ain't alone, bro.
It's really like you're alone out here, man. Like every man, like you want to believe that people are there and they care about about your well-being, but at the end of the day, everybody's just out here for themselves, man. It's sad. It's really sad.
Olin, we got people here for you, man. That's part of what we do with this show. The goal of the show is not just to tell your story; it's to heal. It's to heal. We're gonna help you heal. You're not alone, bro. You got a lot of people on here, and pretty much everybody on here is gonna try to help you or give you positive words. You know, you have people that have been giving you questions, comments.
Take your time, Maya.
I mean, dude, we're gonna put you in contact. We're gonna take care of you, bro. Trust me. And hopefully, from you making it through this, we're gonna use you to help others. Because who can help other people besides people like you? Right?
Thanks, man.
Anytime, man. Now, I do have one question.
Yeah, what's up?
Favorite gospel song?
My favorite gospel song?
Yeah.
I have a lot of them. Excuse me. I have a lot of them that I like.
Okay.
But there's this old hymn.
Okay.
I think it's a hymn called "Great Is Thy Faithfulness" that I really like a lot. I rock with that. Really dope record. It goes like, "Great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see." I can't sing. I was just crying. All I have needed, Thy hands have provided. Great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. It's a great little ditty. Yeah.
Somebody said, "Sang."
Thank you. So I've been able to, like I said, because of the transitional housing program, the pastor is a musician, so he like runs the music portion of it, and like he teaches us all kinds of songs. So I've been exposed to like stuff that I never really would have liked back in the day, like Christian rock stuff. Like I thought it was corny, but there's a lot of cool stuff on that too. And he's a huge musician, so he like listens to all genres. So we've done rap, reggae, Christian rock, hip hop. And he loves Christmas, like so, and it's a small turnaround. We don't have rehearsals. He sends out mass email. Hey, this is what we're doing today. Hey, I've been listening, and he'll recompose the songs, and so I know a lot of songs, especially gospel songs, because of this whole transitional housing program and being a very important part of the singing group. Because you don't understand how hard it is to find a male vocalist at this point that can actually sing and hold a tune. So he saw the value in that, and it was like, man, I know that you got your own thing going on, but I need you here on Sundays, so I'll pay you to do that. And I was like, yeah, for sure, definitely, you know. So,
oh man, you've always been a talented dude, always. You know, since you were a kid, I've seen you do it. I've seen you sing, dance, rap, act, produce a song,
magic tricks.
Yeah. Okay, this is a short story.
Okay.
Olin's nickname is Spooks McGee. That's his music name. The reason I Spooks McGee is Olin would do magic tricks. And random, we go out to eat, and he's like online getting food doing magic tricks.
Yeah.
So if you look him up online and go on, actually I'll let you plug your own stuff, but that's where the name Spooks McGee comes from.
It comes from Sigma Beta. That's right.
Yeah, man.
That's right.
Believe it or not, Joe was also in Sigma Beta.
And you know what?
Dr. West.
My memory. Yeah, Dr. West is a GOAT, man.
Yeah.
Dr. West is the greatest, man.
He did a lot
to speak to him again soon.
He did a lot to help us as men. He really did. I want to thank him one day if I ever get the opportunity.
I really do. Because, you know, like I said, no father figure, none of that stuff. He was like, he's played a very important, you know, and you know what? Me and Wes never spoke. Like, he might have said some things here and there, but he never spoke to me like, hey, Olin, so I want to let you know, brother. You know, none of that shit. He was very quiet, and he still made a strong impact on me, you know? Yeah. Crazy.
He didn't speak much, but when he spoke, his words meant
yeah.
Every time. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, like, I probably couldn't even do an impression of Mr. West because I barely heard his voice.
Yeah. Now, before we end it up, does anybody have any other questions, comments?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank you so much for your vulnerability. And I don't know if you would be interested, but just having you talk to my students, like my Black boys, as they're growing up and just knowing the reality of the country we live in. Like, just the fact that they have dreams, they have hopes and goals, and how growing up in certain societies can stop that. And I would encourage you to keep telling your story, and like the more you tell it, you don't become ashamed of it or anything like that. And I've learned that even from my experience. So I thank you so much for your vulnerability, and just continue to spread it, because you are ministering to other people through your story. God is not going to waste your pain. Like, and just keeping that on my mind has helped me get through some tough times. But yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.
Rob, you got a
Yeah, first and foremost, brother, thank you so much for coming up and sharing your story. You know what I mean? You got an incredible story, bro. Like, you've been through a lot, you know what I mean? From personal things to the situation going on with the cops and everything. I'm just happy, first and foremost, to see you here to tell your story. Because a lot of people, especially at many times that you've had to run in with the cops and all that stuff, and especially with everything that's going on up here and in here, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of them, they don't make it this far to tell the story. So you have an incredible story that touched a lot of us, all of us, I'm pretty sure. It's going to touch a lot more. I hope you continue to put your story out there. Number one, I think it's part of a healing process. Because you keep all that in there. Thank you. No, we need to thank you. Like, real talk, man. You know, and like I said, all those talented things, some of the most talented people in the world that touch and, you know, become role models for them. They didn't come off a perfect lifestyle. They went through things. And you know what I'm saying? Thank God. Well, like I said, all the things that you went through with so many times running into the cops and being incarcerated. Thank God you're here to tell the story. You know, you're looking healthy. You're looking in good spirits, brother. Yeah, man. You know, you got the singing voice and everything. So don't let what happened in the past dictate your future. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I've never been suicidal. I've never been trying to kill myself or nothing like that. But there were several times where I was just like, man, but if something happened, I wouldn't be mad, man, because I'm just so sick of fighting. I have to keep fighting. All my life, you know how they say, all my life I had to fight.
Right, right.
Like,
but they don't understand.
But
That's
I really have to keep fighting, man. It's like, give a nigga catch a break one time, damn,
right.
You know?
Exactly. No, but you will. Trust me. You know, it's a saying. Anybody that knows me, I always say this. Sometimes you got to go through hell before you get to heaven. You know what I'm saying? So trust me, everything that's happened to you is going to make you stronger. Already has. It's going to continue to. And I'm telling you, for somebody that we have a lot of similarities in our stories. I've been up here. I talked a couple of weeks ago about what I went through. So, you know what I mean? Trust me, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And
Dude, I know for a fact that I'm gonna be winning. I'm gonna be winning so hard, bro. I know it. But on some real shit, dude, I'll be like, yo, God, I know you're gonna bless me, but can we chill on this? Like, I know, like, I got it, bro. I got the point. Like, can I have that moment where I'm chilling and I'm balling? Cause I know that's gonna happen. I know it. But I'm tired.
But you're getting
I'm
strong,
tired, man. I'm getting fat and old, bro. I'm tired.
I get it. I get it. Trust me. I'm chanting those same things. I know where you're coming from. Even when you talk about you being unique, you know what I mean? I call myself the Wizard of Weird. They know that. So, you know what I'm saying? Trust me, it is what it is. But your uniqueness is what's needed in the world. You're going to influence a lot of people, man. So just keep on moving, do your thing, brother. And I'll be continuing to watch you, man. Trust me.
Olin, I'm going to put you in contact with Rob and Joe. And for anyone that wants to keep in contact with you, what's your contact information?
If you just go to Google and type Spooks McGee,
okay,
SPOOKSMCGHIE, it'll correct you before you finish typing it. And it'll pretty much show you like my artist page, and it'll show you all my social media. It's very easy to find me. I've been doing a lot of SEO, like just like organic SEO, just like pushing. Anytime I meet somebody, telling them to Google Spooks McGee. There was a long period of time where I just went from barbershop to barbershop and would canvas and sell CDs and stuff. So there's a huge network of people that have heard of me or know about what I'm doing or trying to do. I'm trying to build this brand. I've been trying to build this brand for 20 years. So it's finally coming to a head where people are actually taking it seriously. And it's only, and so I'm just trying to like do anything I can that's going to stick now. I've been, writing a pilot for a kids show. I'm recording a podcast. I got several albums. We got an indie label. I'm trying to write a book. Like I'm trying to do something, anything that whatever sticks, I'm just trying to make it work,
Hey, Olin, if somebody wants to listen to your podcast, what's the name of it and how do they find it?
If you go to Spotify and you type Spooks McGee, it'll show you the artist and it will also show you the podcast. Because I have Spooks McGee the artist and Spooks McGee the podcast, but it's called the Late Bloomer Podcast with Spooks McGee. But if you type in Spooks McGee on Google or Spooks McGee podcast, you'll find it. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. Excuse me. It's on Instagram. Well, not Instagram. Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and it's SoundCloud as the Late Bloomer Podcast. And
Okay.
it's just us trying to have some fun and be silly, man, because life is too difficult and there's a lot of stress. And, you know, we might talk about political issues because I'm just, you know, internally woke, so I can't help but talk about issues. But we try to make it light, funny, and silly.
Good. All right. So definitely, people, please reach out. Follow him on Instagram. The Instagram is the Late Bloomer too, right? Or is it Spooks
Yeah,
McGee?
Bloomer Podcast, but like everything is Spooks McGee. It's all branching out from Spooks McGee. You go to Spooks McGee. When early on when I first was solidify that name as my name, I made sure that I made everything Spooks McGee. So Facebook, Spooks McGee, Instagram, Spooks McGee, Twitter, Spooks McGee. It's a complete branding across the board. And any other thing that I do, you'll probably see it if you scroll down a little bit. The other podcasts, whatever else things that I'm doing, you'll see it pop up.
Okay. So everybody, please make sure to follow Spooks McGee because you know he's going to be doing some big things. I already know. I have no doubt. I'm 14. So definitely.
That means a lot coming from the Godfather of Soul.
Yeah. He was Spooks McGee. I was Feel Good. Terrible name.
Feel Good. Yeah, I remember. Dang, I forgot that nickname. Feel Good. Yeah.
But it definitely, please reach out. Olin, I'm going to keep you in contact with those that you spoke to on tonight's show.
Thank you.
For anyone that watched this and was inspired or have any questions or wanted to reach out, please reach out to Spooks McGee, or you can reach out to me at fall2risepod@gmail.com, or you can go to our YouTube page. Please log in and subscribe. It's Fall to Rise podcast on YouTube. This episode should be up there in about 2 hours, and we have all of the previous episodes on there. So if you wanted to go back, watch the Navigating the Criminal Justice System, which is the prequel, and this episode, our Generational Curses episode. Ironically, a lot of the people that are on the cast right now have been in episodes. So if you want to go back and
I feel like I was talking about generational curse. That's probably what's happening. I feel like I'm cursed. Shit.
But hey, you're breaking it, man. You're breaking it. So again, please reach out. Wow, I normally would have a lot to say at the end, but this has been a heavy podcast, I think emotionally for everybody. It definitely was. Your story is an inspiration, whether you know it or not. You've helped a lot of people tonight, whether you know it or not. There's going to be people that are going to see this and are going to get inspired by you. So, Olin, thank you. Thank you so much. We will definitely be in contact, and we'll be hopefully working together on something soon. I might have to come down to Georgia and come mess with you on your show.
Call me, bro. Call me.
Will do. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. My name is James Brown, and you just got finished watching Fall to Rise podcast. Thank you.